Hey yo, what's going on everybody? This is David and today I'm going to be reviewing Batman Arkham Shadow. So it's been about 3 months since this game came out, and if you know anything about me, I do not play games like most reviewers where as soon as it comes out or before it comes out, I'm just right there playing the game, just trying to get through it as fast as possible. That's not me. I've got a full-time job that I work at, so even if I did want to do that, I just wouldn't have the time. But I don't want to do that. I actually literally like to enjoy my games. So it has been about 3 months since the game has released. I've beaten the game a couple weeks ago and I can finally talk about it. So let's get started. All right, the first thing I want to talk about is the performance of the game, because when it first released, there were some performance issues that I encountered. The first one was a lot of frame drops, especially during the beginning of the game when matches, your character that you're playing throws the Molotov at the bat signal thing, you have this like heavy frame drop, and the game feels like it's playing out like 20 frames per second in that exact moment. And then even later on, there are some hitches and frame drops as well. Now, after I think about a month, all that was fixed. So all those performance drops, those frame drops, that was totally fixed. There was another issue that I encountered where if you move your camera and your arms at the same time, you would see your arms hitching and kind of jittering all over the place, like very heavily. And usually this is a result of reprojection because the game logic is being rendered at a lower frame rate than the camera. But this did also get fixed. It's very unnoticeable now. Like only if you look at it, it's noticeable. Whereas before, it was pretty noticeable, even just like grabbing stuff in the world. Yeah, I can say that the game definitely is in a very playable state now. However, I did run into a few game-breaking bugs when I was playing the game. I think about 2 to 3 times there were certain parts of a level where I could not progress. It pretty much locked me out of the progression. So I actually had to just restart the checkpoint and it fixed the issue. So not a big deal, not a huge deal breaker in my opinion. That happens, whatever. I'm not going to be mad about it. At least you can actually restart the checkpoint and fix the issue. There are some games where you literally just have to restart the story, and that's horrible in my opinion. At least here you can just restart the checkpoint. Checkpoints are pretty reasonable, so that fixes the issue. But I did encounter those issues even after 3 months, right? I just beat the game and I was still encountering it. I think like 2.5 months into my playthrough. So there you go. All right, so with all that out of the way, let's talk about my favorite part of this game first of all, and that is when you get to become a different character, and his name is called Matches Malone, which is actually straight from classic Batman lore. But this was probably my favorite part of the game. You basically disguise as this Malone character and you get yourself thrown into prison, and it's pretty cool. You play out as Malone during the day in prison, and then during the night you kind of go back to your cave, your bat cave, and put on your bat disguise, and then you go back to the prison, and then you do bat stuff like fighting the prison guards and just kind of exploring, doing investigations, stuff like that. And then when it comes time to go back to sleep, you go back to your bat cave and you change into Matches Malone, and you go back to your prison cell, sleep, and you're able to do some investigation work as Matches Malone now. Like I said, this was super awesome. The disguise for Matches Malone is super cool. With this game, you can see your full arms and your full body, and Matches Malone has got these tattoos on his left and right arms, and everything just looks so cool. It is just so badass, and I really love the voice for Matches Malone as well. He does like a completely different voice for Matches Malone than he does for Batman. He literally sounds completely different.
Hold out your hand. I got something for you.
And it's awesome. I love this part so much. I just thought it's going to be like you're just Batman throughout the whole game, but this character change just totally took me by surprise, and I really loved it. That was one of my favorite parts for sure. Now, the gameplay is some of the best I've seen in VR. It's not physics based, but it does feel very much like the original game, you know, the flat screen version. And hitting the combos just right is some of the most satisfying combat I've ever felt in VR. This actually, I feel like, might change VR hand-to-hand combat just like the original flat screen game did for third-person fighting games. So if you don't know, the original Batman games in VR actually kind of changed third-person fighting. Before that game, third-person fighting was pretty basic. There wasn't much to it, but the way that the original Batman games did it is there was like a certain way that your character flowed during combat from one enemy to another enemy, and just the way that everything felt so dynamic and fluid. Well, this Batman for VR kind of does the same thing. I've never felt this type of combat in VR. The way you switch from enemy to enemy is really satisfying and very fluid. And like I said, it's not physics based, which usually means pretty bad combat, pretty janky combat, but in this game that's not the case whatsoever. I mean, just the way that you're hitting some of these combos, you're hitting some of these punches, you can do various different takedowns and stuff like that. I mean, man, it's just incredibly satisfying. This is some of the best VR combat I've ever felt. You feel like a total badass once you finish a fighting scene. Like, wow, great job to the developers. All right, as for the campaign, this is a fully fledged story-driven game. It'll take you about a solid 8 to 10 hours to finish, especially if you want to do some side things here and there. But the game is just paced really well. I never felt like it was too short or it was too long. In fact, I thought the game would end a lot sooner than it did because every new scene of the game was just as epic as the last one. And every one of the levels could have been an ending in and of itself. And I was just super impressed with the game overall. The campaign, the story, everything about the way it flowed was perfect. I loved it. You got the top-down cutscenes. You've got the situations where you're talking face-to-face. You've got all these different type of investigation scenes. Everything felt like it was part of the story, and it was all tied in together. And I thought they did a great job in this regard. I was also very impressed with the graphics, considering this is basically running on mobile hardware. And with VR especially, you have to run very high resolutions at high frame rates, which is especially hard. But I was able to play the game even using Quest Game Optimizer with even a higher resolution, and the game did not miss a beat. The only hiccups I encountered here were when I was loading into a new area of the map, and that is when I saw the game stop for a split second. But overall, the performance was great. Just make sure to turn on dynamic resolution so that the game will turn the resolution down when things get heavy instead of dropping frames. Overall though, I was very impressed with this game. I can honestly say that I had more fun playing this game than even Half-Life Alyx. And that was my previous best VR game I've ever played. If you've got a Quest 3, 3S, or a Pro, definitely check this game out. It is highly recommended for me. I'm going to rate this game like a 9 out of 10. That's how much I enjoyed it. I thought not only was this a great game for VR, this was just a solid game. If this same game was in a flat version, but like in a first person mode, I think it would have been just as good. I really enjoyed this game, but the fact that it was made for VR is just even better. I mean, this game was just wow. It impressed me a lot, and in the future, I definitely want to go back and play it on the hardest difficulty. Alright y'all, thank you for watching this video. Have you played this game? Let me know in the comments below. And if you would please like this video for the algorithm and comment down below. And don't forget to subscribe, alright? Thank you for watching and be blessed. Peace.